YouTube? I am the Lootbox Hero, aka YouTube's greatest fat man, bringing you another movie review. Okay, so the Suicide Squad. This is a James Gunn joint, and I have to say, as far as comparing it to the original Suicide Squad, something I'm going to be doing a lot in this video, I have to say it's pretty good in some ways, and in some ways not so much compared to the original. But we can't really blame the original too much because the original was re-edited by a trailer house, so we don't know exactly how much of this is really what David Ayer was trying to give us in the first place. But we know that everything in this movie is what James Gunn was trying to give us, because James Gunn wanted carte blanche to do what he wanted, and he wanted an R rating, and DC was like, hey, here goes a check. Go to work. And that's exactly what he did, because this movie is probably one of the best DCEU movies to come out. It might even be better than Zack Snyder's re-edited Justice League. Maybe. It's definitely not like a long music video like the original Suicide Squad. Because that's what it felt like. I rewatched the original Suicide Squad, and there's so much freaking, like, just licensed music. And it's so, like, it has that music video style and feel, like that grungy club feel from, like, a rap video. Like, it feels like a multi-hour music video about, you know, toxic relationships. But this one doesn't. Alright, so this one, it is a bit long, but it's not bad though. This one follows the Suicide Squad, basically a group of criminals, basically people who you would see getting captured by superheroes, brought together by a government agent, Amanda Waller, and sent out to do black op missions. You know, their mission is to go to this freaking Cuba-like place, I can't remember the name of it, and to destroy a place called Jotunheim, which used to be an old Nazi laboratory, which was turned into a laboratory by a certain powerful country that wants what's happening in there to be kept secret. And so, of course, they send a band of criminals to go and destroy all the evidence. The central characters are, of course, like Rick Flag, Bloodsport, who is kind of like they're all like the same character. Deathstroke, freaking Deadshot, Bloodsport, and kind of sort of Peacemaker. All the same, very talented assassin man. Okay? That's essentially what Bloodsport is. Very talented assassin man. You know what I'm saying? Except for he's Idris Elba instead of being Will Smith. But you got Bloodsport. You've got Peacemaker, this is arguably the best I've seen of John Cena. He has comedy here. He has edginess here. He has action here. This role might have made John Cena as far as being a star, straight up. All right, Ratcatcher 2, who is like the heart of this movie. Weirdly enough, like, she's a very enduring character. And of course Harley Quinn's here, but she doesn't have as big a role in this movie as she did in the previous one, which was virtually about her. But yeah, that's your central cast. You know what I'm saying? I mean, of course you have like King Shark and Polka Dot Man, you know, who are like side characters, and there are a bunch of other characters, but that's your central cast in this movie right there. Alright, so, and they actually get character development, which is something we don't get from the original Suicide Squad. Alright, we barely get character development outside of maybe Harley and maybe Enchantress a little bit. You know, but other than that, and there's no magical sky beam. There's no magical sky beam in this movie. That's the only real spoiler I'm going to give you. Okay, there's no sky beam. Alright, we have a superhero movie with no sky beam. Alright.
Starfish is a slang term for a butthole. Think there's any connection?
No.
No.
James Gunn's cinematography in this movie is really good. Alright, James Gunn does not have the same style as David Ayer, because David Ayer has this kind of slick nightclub feel to his movies. Like, you look at this, you look at the original Suicide Squad, you look at Bright, he has a certain type of style that I like. Okay, and it also goes good with, you know, the music that he has in the movie. If it's not, you know, chopped up by a whole different team of people. Example is the rain scene. Like, you saw it in one of the trailers. I couldn't find any footage of it online to put in this video. Not to mention, I already got a copyright strike, so I don't want to use too much footage. But you know, that's not just a really cool walk-up scene. That scene actually sets up a big team fight. The characters in this movie and character development as a whole is another big pro of this movie. Like, the last movie kind of tried to do, like, you know, this kind of Guardians of the Galaxy meets Deadpool type of thing with a PG-13 rating. And while it kind of worked, it also kind of didn't. I mean, because the characters in the first Suicide Squad didn't feel like hardened criminals that they were pulled out of a maximum security prison and sent to do something. Like, no, they felt like anti-heroes. But this cast literally does feel like a bunch of rogues and villains. Like, the way character development is handled in this movie is handled way better than it was in the original Suicide Squad. Like, backstories like Ratcatcher 2. Rick Flag gets a lot of character development, which is surprising since he came off about as plain as Wonder Bread in the last movie. Ratcatcher 2, who is the heart of this movie. You know what I'm saying? We get Painmaker. I almost said Painmaker. That stupid Jericho give me. Peacemaker. Awesome. And Black. And Bloodsport. Bloodsport and the whole dynamic between Bloodsport and Ratcatcher 2 is like the center of this movie. Kind of like how Harley was the center of the last movie. These two are the center of this movie. And it's pretty interesting. You know, I kind of dig that. And one of the last pros of this movie is the action. Okay, the action in this movie is good. All the fights have a meaning. It's not like a fight just starts for nothing. Like, a lot of the stuff in Suicide Squad, the original, were just fights just because we need an action scene here. It's like, I mean, it's like some of the context for it was edited out or lost or something. That doesn't happen in this movie. All the fights are here for a reason.
You're stretching in my door!
Everyone stand down.
Miss Waller, I don't...
Stand down!
I wouldn't take such extreme measures if this mission went more important than you could possibly imagine.
This movie is dark as fuck, okay? Straight up. Alright, if you're not cool with a bunch of violence or a bunch of dark humor, you're probably not gonna like this. Alright, if you didn't like Brightburn, you're probably not gonna like this. Even though this is way more fun than Brightburn, alright, way more fun, bombastic colors and action. But if you didn't like that type of violence, you're probably not gonna like this movie. There is a lot of violence in this movie. Alright, to me it was fine, but I'm just letting you know that, you know, Harley Quinn. Alright, so I have a problem here with Harley Quinn in this movie. Mainly because the part of the movie that she has, because she gets separated from the group for a big chunk of the movie. And so her kind of arc, the story arc, or her part of this movie is weird because it centers around a weird romance she has with the president of this Cuban adjacent country, you know, and it's like, okay, you know what I'm saying? And it ends the way you would expect it to end because it's Harley. Now, the character herself is actually pretty interesting in this movie because this is like peak insane Harley. Like, this is not like sympathetic Harley like we got from Birds of Prey. This is insane Harley. She was put back in jail and her insanity has gotten worse. There are some scenes in this movie where you look at it and you realize That's right, Harley's freaking nuts. You know what I'm saying? And you know that storyline is in there. You know what I'm saying? Now a lot of that feels like it was added on because Harley didn't have a big role in the movie, and so they had Margot Robbie there, and they're like, well, we can't just have her here and not have her have a big role since the movie is centered around Ratcatcher 2 and Bloodsport. They needed to make something for Harley, so they did, and that's what that whole arc feels like. I mean, we do get like the best Harley action scene we've ever gotten at the end of that sequence, but we just had to get through it to get there. Like, I mean, there's the weird romance, you know, Harley gets tortured, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's also a part where there's this cage of birds. You might have seen it in some of the clips. These birds that, you know, they show Harley, like near the end of the segment, like when she gets captured, they set the bird cage on fire with the birds in it. And so I'm like, you know, I understand darkness and cruelty and violence, but then there's just gratuitous violence. And it's like, that's kind of over the line. Like, do we really have to kill the birds? It feels like they did that. It feels like one of those villain moments where the villain kills one of his own men just to prove how big of an asshole he is. But we already know you're an asshole because you're the villain. So, you know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, burn the bird cage. Ooh, we got a badass over here. He burned the bird cage. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, getting through that segment to get to the awesome part at the end was kind of hard. Amanda Waller. Pretty much all the villains in this movie, but specifically Amanda Waller and Starro to a certain extent, because they try to kind of sort of redeem Starro at the 11th hour of this movie, and I'm like, nah, he was gonna totally try to take over the world. Like, he had opportunities to get back into space if he wanted to. I'm not even gonna buy that, you know what I'm saying? But what they did to Amanda Waller in this movie, bro, like, with Harley's character change is understandable because she's coming down off of the high she was in with Birds of Prey after getting put back in jail. So her insanity is really showing. But they had Amanda Waller in here, and she goes to the movie doing her crazy Amanda Waller stuff. She's threatening this guy. She is threatening people's families and children with imprisonment and grisly death. And then something happens to her, and then there's no repercussions. Like, she doesn't die, but they have to get around her in order to get to the end of the movie. I can't really spoil it, but I'll just say that something happens to her, and there's no repercussions for it at all. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, no, I saw Amanda Waller waste a bunch of FBI guys for, like, nothing. Okay, she was threatening people with grisly death and imprisonment and all kind of stuff, and you're trying to tell me she lets this slide? Alright, I'm sorry. If Amanda Waller is not in the Peacemaker show, and she doesn't go off to play golf, and then the base gets hit with, like, an airstrike or something, and then the people involved die, I don't know what they're going to do with Amanda Waller's character after this. Because she just let that slide. I'm just like, what? No, bro. But that's about it for this, though. This movie gets an A, bro. This is the best DCEU movie so far. It's right up there with Zack Snyder's re-edited Justice League. So that's about it for this. Like, comment, subscribe, and good day to you.